In 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And welcome everyone to this episode of the Real Leaders Podcast. 2 and 1. And welcome everyone to this episode of the Real Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Edwards. Joining us today is the CEO of Tomorrow, global futurist keynote speaker, and author of The Algorithmic Leader. It's Mr. Mike Walsh. Mike, thanks for being with us today.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. Well, Mike, it's funny, we've got this email that we send out to let our audience know, about the upcoming podcast. And, in the email, I was like, all right, well, hey, send us some questions for Mike if you have any. There's currently fires going on in my home state of Oregon and California. Hey, if you know anybody that needs help, let me know. I can send out a message. I got a few responses, Mike, but one I got was from Chuck 2021, and he said, "Get a haircut. You look like a girl." So I don't know if he was talking about me, if he was talking about you, but Chuck, man, sorry.
Given that my hair is twice as long as yours, I think I'm the one in trouble.
California is not allowing haircuts either. I just don't think this guy understands. But Mike, it's funny. I think you're really like a real life like Keanu Reeves, like a Neo. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll be the Mr. Agent, and we can bring Trinity in here, and we'll just have a party.
Just don't mess with my dog.
Exactly. Well, what about parties though? Parties that we're not invited to. This day of digital disruption, 5G coming out, iPhones with billion transistors in them that we just have no idea about, but they're in the palm of our hands. Where are we currently in this day and age, and really in the grand scheme of things?
Look, I think in many ways, 2020 is kind of a dress rehearsal for the next 10 years. So what we're seeing in this year is everything that we're going to see a dramatic acceleration of very shortly, whether it's home delivery, greater use of automation, our total reliance on mobile technology, and even finally a boom in virtual reality, which is something that didn't go anywhere until this year when everyone was stuck inside and suddenly started buying these headsets. So we're really getting a preview now of the world that's coming, that's actually been accelerated in many ways.
Yeah. So explain, what is VR? What is extended reality?
Yeah. So extended reality, or XR, encompasses VR, AR, or MR. MR is mixed reality. So you're seeing, from manufacturers like Microsoft, this idea that, not just putting you in a virtual world, but superimposing images over your vision. So you could be a mechanical engineer in a factory who has to repair something, and you're seeing schematics appear in front of your vision, which guide you through the process. And the difference between MR and AR is that in MR, the system is actually aware of what it sees. So if you're playing Pokemon, for example, the little Pokemon will see the flower pot and will know that it can actually hide behind it. So it's much more immersive. And these technologies are not only dramatically improving because we've got better chips, better computation. When you now throw 5G and AI into the mix, they really have the potential to transport our perspective.
So you make a claim in the book, Mike, about, like I just mentioned, the party we're not invited to. It's coming, and leaders in today's day and age have to be aware of what algorithms do. Explain to our audience what an algorithm is and how to think like an algorithmic leader.
An algorithm is actually something that's been around for thousands of years. Probably the simplest example of an algorithm is a recipe, like a cooking recipe. So it's a series of steps you follow to get a result. Now, of course, in the 21st century we live in, these instructions are not only embedded everywhere, machines have started to learn to actually be able to create them themselves. So when people talk about machine learning, that's really machines, in a way, writing their own algorithms. And it's sort of weird, like we're seeing algorithms become not only critical to the way we design experiences, but they're going to be the future of business as well, and the battles that are bought. You've probably been looking in the press recently. There's been a big controversy over TikTok and ByteDance. If you've got kids, you probably already know what TikTok is. If you're an adult and you know what it is, you probably shouldn't be using it. It's not for you. But the genius of TikTok is that they've essentially weaponized algorithms to know exactly what to show you next to keep you hooked. And it's no accident. They study, trillions of data points in order to be able to know exactly what to show you to keep you engaged. But here's the interesting thing. If you've been watching this whole debate about who in the US gets to take control of TikTok, ByteDance, the parent company of TikTok, is actually not going to share its algorithm. So whoever invests in them in the US, or if Oracle takes them over, the algorithm is going to be kept secret. And that shows you where value is really in the 21st century. The most valuable thing a company has are its data and its algorithms.
Now, what are your thoughts or perspective on what that does in the long term for society?
Well, it changes the kind of debates that we have to have. Almost every aspect of our lives will be shaped by algorithms. And this is controversial. Access to welfare, access to housing, insurance companies will use sophisticated algorithms to determine your premiums and risk. Even in education, the future classroom will use algorithms to actually judge where your child is at. Can we adapt the learning and personalize it for them? So almost every experience we have, whether it's watching television or buying books or shopping or learning or interacting with other people, will be shaped by these invisible lines of code. And what's really going to be difficult is that in many cases, humans will not understand completely how those algorithms were designed. So if you're a business leader, this is the moment where you've got to make sure you're upgrading your own knowledge and capabilities. Because claiming to not understand this, you're going to be on the hook for it as a leader. You're going to be not only accountable, but you're going to be liable for the algorithms that your organization uses to design experiences for your customers.
So I've had a few people say never make an emotional decision, always trust in the data. Where do you fall in that? And what is the difference between an algorithm making a decision versus a human?
It's a great question. And in a way, we've got this difficult choice. You can either have a human being making a unpredictable decision, which can depend on, as you say, their emotions, the weather, the time of day. Or you can have a machine which can predictably make an unfair decision if the data that it's based on is biased or discriminatory. So what that tells you is not that machines are biased or there's a risk of discrimination. It shows you that the most important thing you do when you design a machine to make decisions is that the data that you use is clean, correct, and the algorithms are non-discriminatory. And if you cannot understand the algorithm, you at least need to understand what the system is optimized to do. Is it optimized to save money? Is it being optimized for growth? Is it being optimized to create the best possible experience for the user? You need to know what that trade-off is, because in every system, there's a trade-off.
Now let's go into the actual companies that are making these decisions. You mentioned in your book, and I'm just going to show your book really quick for people out here listening to this. I just think it's so great. It's like dessert for me. It's a nice mindset book I've got right in front of me, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty. We had him on the show. We first with Simon Mainwaring talked about brands and its ultimate purpose. But this book, I'm not a big tech guy at all, Mike, and as you can tell by this interview, but I really like it. It's just like a dessert for me. It's nice, it's edible, it's fun, and it really makes you think differently and about the future. Now I can go into that a little bit later, but sticking to this example, you mentioned a few companies in the book. Let's take Amazon, for example. How are they using algorithms in their decision-making and design thinkings when it comes to, let's just say, a personal meeting?
Well, what makes Amazon really interesting as a company is that it's not just that they have such a massive investment in technology. So they're no longer a retailer. They're a platform that provides cloud computation. They provide the big infrastructure that runs the world. But to me, what makes them really interesting is not so much all of that technology. It's their culture, their values, and their organizational principles. You know, one of the most interesting things that you can look at if you want to learn more about Amazon is their leadership principles. Because what they've realized is that if you want to be an effective leader in this new world, it's not just what you know, and it's how you think. It's how you solve problems. It's how you interact. This is like the cultural operating system inside the company. And it's not something you can go and buy from a technology vendor. You have to figure out what is the smartest way for our best people to interact and collaborate and get things done. So I'll give you one simple example. The way Amazon runs meetings. And obviously this was before COVID. And they banned PowerPoint in their meetings. Now, you might think that sounds insane, right? Or maybe it sounds wonderful. I mean, I don't know about you. I've had hours of my life lost to completely inane PowerPoint presentations.